What's up, guys? So today I am going to be talking about just how psychedelics completely changed my life for the better. So in this video I'll talk about what I was kind of like before I ever took psychedelics. Then I'll talk about the experience themselves, and then afterwards how that changed me and how I'm going about integrating that experience. So first off, I want to say that I was always a very curious kid. I always wondered about the nature of reality, why I exist, why I'm in this body at this time, and I was always interested in science and like space exploration and stuff like that. So I was always curious, I always wanted answers. So just keep that in mind going forward, because that curiosity is ultimately what led me to even trying psychedelics for the first time. So also during my earlier years, like my young teenage years, like maybe to age 16 or so, I was heavily atheist. Science was like my rock, and I honestly opposed all religion. I thought it was stupid. I thought because science couldn't prove the existence of God, that God just didn't exist at all. And I thought anyone who followed religion, or just any sort of religion, was just brainwashed and dumb. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at with my ideologies at the time. But another thing was that during my high school years, I was also lost in ego, just like the rest of us. You can't really blame anyone for it. I mean, pretty much all people are lost in their ego, but I was just like everyone else, lost in my ego. But I was often very depressed and just struggling to find meaning in life. It was in high school and later high school that I began to realize just how much it was pushed on you to be something, and it seemed that everyone's goal was to just make as much money as possible, because supposedly they believed that that would bring them the most happiness in life. And I quickly realized that I didn't think that money would buy happiness, because nothing that seemed to happen in my life seemed to make me happy. So I didn't really think that getting money in life would bring me happiness. I had a couple of relationships in high school, and I invested my entire well-being into the person, and when we broke up, I was just shattered. I was thrown into just deep depression that I was just ruminating constantly. I would always wonder what I did wrong. And I thought that for months, even almost a whole year after the breakup. I was just depressed and thought I was just a shit human for not being able to keep that relationship. And yeah, I recognize that suffering is really nothing compared to other people's circumstances, but ultimately this suffering was what would push me forward later in life to where I am now. But I'll get into that more later. But yeah, I said how I was lost in ego. I didn't even really know what an ego was. I had learned about ego in psychology class, and I didn't know much about it. I didn't realize how deeply the ego ran my life, and everyone else's too. It pretty much determines all of your thoughts, behaviors, and actions, and I was just not aware of that at all. So fast forward, I graduate high school, and I start going to community college nearby, and I'm still living at home because it was really close to my home. And most of my friends had gone off to, they had moved away to different universities. So I was pretty lonely. I had a couple of friends at community college, but for the most part, I was pretty lonely. And if you know how community college goes, it's, many people are just trying to get in and get out. That's how it was for me, because I was working and also making YouTube videos. So I didn't have much free time. So when I just went to school, went to class, and got out, and that's how many other people were as well. So I didn't really meet anyone. So I was pretty lonely. But I did have this one class, transpersonal psychology, which was kind of like a spiritual psychology class, and that was so interesting because I just met so many spiritual people in that class, and I heard some people tell their stories about how psychedelics changed their lives for the better. And that was really eye-opening for me, because I was brainwashed just like everyone else to think that like substances like LSD and mushrooms were as bad as like heroin and meth. And when I heard their stories, and then after I heard their stories, I did research for myself, I realized these substances are harmless as long as you use them right. So I got really interested because I heard that you could use them to induce mystical experiences, whatever. I didn't really know what mystical experience meant at the time, but I knew it could somehow bring me closer to God, to the divine, whatever you want to call it. And at this point, I wasn't an atheist anymore. I wasn't locked down in that ideology. I was open to new possibilities, because I realized the God debate. Oh, does God exist or does he not? Yes or no? I realized that it's not as complex as a yes or no question. I knew there was some higher power at play here in reality, and if psychedelics could somehow tap me into that would be amazing. So in late 2019, I took a series of 5 or 6 trips in a 2.5 month period in late 2019, and that is just where my life really changed forever. I will never be the same again. So I was opened up to just how deep the human mind goes, how deep reality goes, all the knowledge we have, with science, with all other fields of knowledge, that is just such a small speck in everything that there is to know. We know practically nothing, so it's a little foolish to assume that we do, because there's so much more to discover, so much that'll just bring complete paradigm shifts when it comes to knowledge. That was one thing, but another main thing was 2 of those trips that I had were full-blown ego deaths, and I just had my entire identity just fade away from me on that experience. Like, pieces of me just broke off, and they just fell into the void, and until I was nothing, until none of my identity was left. And once my ego was just completely gone, it was like I merged with whatever you want to call it, the collective consciousness, if you want to call it that. I felt like I became and was everything, and I was a part of everything, and it was so profound. I was just opened up to a love that was so powerful that I never even knew existed, and I can't even fathom it in my current state of awareness right now. It transcends everything. It's all encompassing, and it's just beautiful. And if you ever have that experience, it will never be the same again. And I finally understood what this oneness was about, that I had heard many times in my transpersonal psychology class, and also through just learning about other prophets, just like enlightened prophets. I've heard some stuff about Jesus and Buddha talking about that, the oneness. And now that I experienced oneness, I finally understood it for the first time, and I can never be the same again after experiencing that. So I realized the ego is not me. Once I came back down from that experience, that's like, when you realize that the ego is not you, what you had been identifying with your whole life, and you had gone about defending and progressing and just living in your entire life in the ego, once you realize that's not you, you literally can't ever be the same again. So when I came back down, it was kind of tough, because I found myself acting unconsciously, just ingrained egoic habits that I had. Like, occasionally maybe I'd lash out at my brother, or I would just mindlessly engage in gossip, or I would just have a negative thought and I'd let it ruin my day or something. And it's tough, because it's like, this pattern is just so ingrained in me. It's like I can't stop it, And I know the key isn't necessarily stopping the thought from arising into awareness. It's about just becoming aware of it and not acting upon it. But it's tough, because you have to catch it within yourself, and oftentimes I don't catch it within myself. But sometimes I do catch it and I stop it, but other times I don't catch it, and maybe when I'm about to go to sleep and I'm just thinking about my day, I remember it and I catch it, so then I can not do it in the future. But it's tough, because I have like one half of myself in the dream world, fully identified with the ego, and another half just in this more loving oneness realm, who wants to just help humanity in whatever way I can. And it's tough, because it's like I have to balance the two. But the thing is, I don't want to be in this egoic realm. I want to be closer to this oneness realm. So it's a lot of work to embody that full oneness at all times. I also recognize that this oneness is what prophets like Jesus and Buddha pointed towards. This is what their core message was. It was like, this oneness is the true profound message of the universe. Like, the one, if you can know one profound truth, this is the truth you should know. And this is what all the prophets were talking about. Pretty much all religion ties back to this oneness. It's just that the main message by the prophets have been twisted by their followers to suit their own egoic needs. So now mainstream religion today is, not as helpful as it should be, and also actually causes a lot of suffering and causes people to stray very far from the truth. But I also feel like it is the destiny for humanity to collectively realize this oneness. And when I look through history, when I compare history to the present day, I just think about how much more wholesome the average human is in the present day than in history. I feel like we've gone on a constant raising arc when it comes to the average consciousness of the average human. We used to have slavery. I know some parts of the world still do have slavery, but it used to be everywhere. It used to be normal. People, different kinds of people, gays and trans people, are just finally starting to be more accepted. People of different backgrounds are starting to accept different kinds of people, and I think that's definitely showcases just a raise in consciousness in humanity. There's overall a more concern for people who aren't as fortunate. We're trying to protect our earth from being polluted in environmental destruction. I think that's a great thing. I think that's definitely evident of a consciousness raise. But, the average person is still very rooted in their ego. And I think it is the destiny of humanity to collectively realize this oneness, not only realize it, but also integrate it. And I recognize that an enlightened human, a fully enlightened person like the Buddha, it's someone who has realized this oneness and has integrated it fully into their everyday awareness. And the thought of that happening to me, I have to admit I like it, but I recognize that I can't feel like I need enlightenment. It's just something I have to work towards but not care too much about. When you want something so bad, that's egoic wanting, and the whole point of enlightenment is to get out of your ego. So your wanting of enlightenment can't come from the ego. It has to come from a more divine desire, so to speak. But anyways, to integrate more, I started making YouTube videos on topics, sharing it with you guys. A lot of you guys have liked it, which I love. I think the fact that I have 27,000 subscribers who enjoy this content, and also thousands of other people who also enjoy other similar content by other creators, I think that's just evident of the consciousness raise going on this planet. And yeah, I think it's amazing what we're going through on this planet. And going forwards for me, my psychedelic experiences have absolutely changed my life, completely changed my life path. I have a lot of direction now. And I recently read a book by Eckhart Tolle called A New Earth. And he talked about how we have an inner purpose and an outer purpose. And he says our inner purpose, our main purpose, is to awaken, to expand our consciousness, to move closer and closer towards this enlightenment and further away from our egos. And then he also talked about our outer purpose, which is a direct reflection of our inner purpose. And our outer purpose is what you might call a job or a career. And it's basically, and he talks about how, your career or job is going to reflect whatever your state of consciousness is. So if you take it upon yourself to awaken and to progress on the spiritual path and become closer and closer towards enlightenment, what you do to help humanity, what you do as your job, is naturally going to reflect that state of consciousness. So someone who is an awakened person who might do art, they might be a writer, they might be a content creator, they might be a life coach, they might be a teacher. It can be a number of things. They might even have a more normal job where they just do it in a more conscious manner. It really can be anything. Anything that just helps raise the collective consciousness of humanity. That's what your outer purpose is going to be about. And then that just hit home with me so much, because I feel so strongly that I need to take it upon myself to dive deeper into this spiritual work and become the purest vehicle that I possibly can to help humanity in the most wholesome way possible. So that's a big reason why I've made this style change on YouTube, while I'm doing the more face-to-face videos rather than the old type of video I was doing. It's just to share my more raw experiences, raw thoughts, and I really hope you guys enjoy this style. So going forward, it'll be more of a documentation of my spiritual journey, but also it's going to be definitely lessons as well to help you on your path as well. I'm only 20 years old, so I just turned 20 a few weeks ago, so I got a lot of time left on my hands, lots of figuring out to do, lots of work to do, lots of integrative work to do. So I'm interested to see what the future holds, because I can't even see a year into the future right now. I'm in my second year of community college. I do plan to transfer to a 4-year university afterwards, which I only need 2 years left of, and then graduate with a degree in philosophy. But also another part of me is like, I kind of want to drop out and maybe just live in a van and just make videos and just meditate like 4 hours a day and work towards this enlightenment thing. And then, once I don't even know, like I just kind of want to just go with the flow. But we'll see what happens. I'll probably end up going to finishing college, getting my degree. I think that'd be helpful for me. If you have that paper, that diploma, you have a lot more power, or a lot more power to choose what your next step is. So I'll most likely do that. But I'm just kind of rambling at this point, and this is taking away from the main point of the video. I think I've talked about everything that I've wanted to talk about. It's that. It's like psychedelics have transformed me into a person who is willing to do the work necessary to become the purest vehicle of unconditional love that I possibly can, to work towards becoming an enlightened human. That's where I'm at right now. I'm definitely very, very far from enlightenment, years, maybe even decades away, but I recognize it as something that gets you in tune with your true nature, gets you in tune with this oneness, and it gets you embodying it into your awareness 24/7. And the thought of maybe being like that one day really excites me, because I just know it's gonna just help so many people. So that's where I'm at right now. That's basically what psychedelics have made me into. Profound change for the better. I'm sure some of you can relate. Let me know some of your experiences in the comments. Please give this video a like, drop a comment. It helps the algorithm promote it so more people can see it. And that's really all I gotta say for today, guys. Have a great day and peace.